On today's ChurchTechCast.com screencast show, making 3D printed buttons capacitive to use in your interactive projection. Hi, and welcome again to the ChurchTechCast.com screencast show. This is the show where every week I help you with the software that we use in the church. My name is Paul Allen Clifford. So recently we've been in a little mini-series about how you can create an interactive display. I've shown you some of the other stuff, and I thought that I would show you some of the good things that you can do with Arduino and marrying that with ProPresenter 6, but basically I just need to get in and show you how to do this last step, which is take the 3D buttons that we made last time and make them capacitive. So let's head over first to my desk and we'll take a look at the buttons themselves, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so the first idea I had was to paint these buttons with capacitive paint. So I found on Instructables, someone said, oh, you take acrylic paint, you mix that with some powdered graphite, and it becomes capacitive paint. But if we look at my multimeter here, which I have set to resistance. Okay, let's make sure I'm making good contact with both of these. Nothing. So that didn't work. So then I tried to do it by sprinkling some of the graphite on top, and that is hit and miss. So let's see if I can get a reading here. And nothing there. Yeah, so it's hit and miss. I'm sometimes getting something. So yeah, there was something. Oh, so hit and miss. So I abandoned that idea. Switch off that, and I went to this metal tape instead. Now, I originally bought this to do some kind of cheap fix-it work around the house, but it is metal and it does conduct electricity, so that's what I used here on this one. So this is already set up, but I'm going to show you how I did it. First off, you take one of the buttons, and I've drilled a couple of holes in here. This might not be the best way to do it. I just can't imagine that, since this is not only plastic, but it's plastic that's was melted to get it into its current form, PLA to be specific plastic. Can't imagine that I could solder this. So instead, what I did was I took my resistors. These are 100K ohm resistors, drilled a couple of holes in them, as I said a second ago, and now I'm going to thread it through the hole and twist it around. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to cut off a piece that should be wide enough to do this and cut it like that. And let's take off the backing. Basically making them completely capacitive, completely capable of transmitting electricity through these. So you could, of course, do this with copper tape, or this is, I believe, aluminum. You could probably also do it with aluminum foil. But so it's basically just going about and doing this, just taping it up. So now on my Arduino, I have in the code that you can download at the website, I've connected it to pins 2, 6, 8, and 10. Pin 4 is the common pin, so basically it has to go between pin 2 and 4, pin 6 and 4, pin 8 and 4, and pin 10 and 4 for the 4 buttons. So what I did was I went out of 4 into what is normally in this guy, it's normally the positive, but that just makes all these common. So I went out of that, and then I moved it to one of these 2 resistors, which according to the tutorial that I found that I'll show you in a second, you put in 2 resistors so that if there happens to be any static electric shock, and as I'm recording this, it's November, so feels like that might happen. In case that's there, we put in the resistor to kind of keep from messing up the Arduino. So now I have this with with the 2 resistors on it. One of them can go to pin 4 and the other one to one of the other pins. So that's what I did down here. Let me move this back into frame a little bit. So once I get all that wired up and send the programming, then we'll see what happens. This is what I found. This is a project, and basically all he's doing is he's using copper tape, a couple of resistors, and an Arduino teensy Arduino. So I thought that should be fairly easy. So here's what I did. I downloaded that library, installed it, and this is basically the sample project here. But I did a couple of other things. I went ahead and added in a 4th button so that you could have 4 instead of just 3, which there were only 3 in here. Added in a new variable, etc. You don't need to know any of that, just know that I did all that. Then I figured out that the number that I'm looking for is 30. If it's more or less than 30, here, let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, so here we have this. Let's close this out. Let me go ahead and transfer this over. Oops. Yeah, that's a problem. That should be delay 100. No, 1000, I think. Yep. Delay 1000. So let me do that. That's the downside of testing this out, is you've got to make sure you're not clicked in here when you're testing it out, or you'll get all kinds of random characters. But basically, if the sensor data here, so this is how many milliseconds it takes to check, which make sure you have all these hooked up, otherwise this is going to be like 5 seconds that it runs between checks. So this is 4 milliseconds, 5 milliseconds, something like that, and then these are the indications that basically there's almost no resistance. I have the resistors in here. Make sure you put those in there or it'll take longer. So you can go ahead and comment out any that you aren't using by using this double hash. So if you're not using 2, you can stick that right there, bob, bob, and that makes that go away, etc. So that's only a single line, but that's a good way to get rid of stuff that you don't want, so that you don't accidentally do something that you do. If you get rid of something you didn't want by commenting it out, you can always go back in here and do it take out the little double slash signs and get what you want. So here we are, right in here, and this is scrolling. So let me make sure the cursor's in here, and I'm going to hit number 1, which should print out an A. Okay, that did that. And 2 is S. There we go. S works. D and F. And F is where I actually have the button. So ASDF, and I can hit F repeatedly, and that works. So it's actually pretty straightforward, but let me show you what it actually looks like. Actually, let me hold down the F and look at this final column. You can see how this number has gotten bigger, and there's a delay. That's because once it sees that the number is over 50, it goes ahead and types the letter, and then it waits a second. So that's why it's slowed down, and when I let go, the number gets smaller and it speeds back up again. So that's that piece of the puzzle. Let's take a look at the whole thing put together. So I'm going over into ProPresenter here. Bring that up. You of course can't see the control side of things because I have that hidden, but you'll notice that again I'm using the evaluation copy here at home. You'd want to pay for the license at church, but I'm not at church, I'm at home. So now I can go ahead and, as you remember, A does the first arrow, S does the second, D does the third, and F does the fourth. So I'll A and S, D, and the actual 3D printed button, F. So there you go. Now you should know that if you don't use 100K resistors, if you use different values, you'll get different results. So it is possible to actually have this work when you're not touching the button if you don't get the resistor value right. So check the documentation that I included the link for, where I found this project, and go from there. So that's how you make an interactive display in ProPresenter 6 using 3D printed buttons and an Arduino. Well, I hope that helped you. As you can see, you just basically take your 3D printed buttons, put some sort of conductive material over it. I bet if you got real conductive paint, it would work fine. I just didn't have any, and my attempts to make it just did not work, as you could see. So using aluminum foil, that would work, or this metal tape, that works as well. If you want links to any of the things that I used today, just go on ahead and go to TDM, short for Trinity Digital Media, .fyi for your information. There's no .com, there's no www, it's tdm.fyi/capacitive buttons. And I'll leave a link below the video if you're watching this on YouTube, where you can go there and download the code that I have created for the Arduino, and you'll also see the links to buy some of these other things, along with, by the way, the other videos in this series. This is the fourth of those videos. Well, hope that helps you, and until next time, go out and change eternity. This is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com.